everyone, and welcome to our November 10th Town Council meeting. Madam Clerk?
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. A notice of this meeting was mailed to the Star Ledger and the West Orange Chronicle on November 23, 2013. A notice of this meeting was also posted on the bulletin board of the Municipal Building, West Orange, and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk of the Township of West Orange on November 23, 2013. Councilman Cirillo?
Present.
Councilman Molina?
Present.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Present.
Councilwoman Spangle?
Present.
Council President McCartney? Present. Mayor Parisi?
Present.
So good evening. Our council meeting was changed from Tuesday, typically on Tuesday, to this evening's Monday, November 10th, because tomorrow is Veterans Day. Memorial Park, here on Main Street, 11 o'clock, Tuesday morning. With that in mind, we have the mayor here to present a proclamation to Jimmy Andriola, World War II veteran. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. I'd first like to congratulate Council President Sue McCartney and Victor Cirillo on their re-election.
Thank you.
I look forward to continuing to work with the Council.
Thank you very much.
I'd also like to, and I know Perry Bashkoff is going to talk a little bit about it, but I always feel the need to explain the scruff under my nose. We are once again, as a community, celebrating Movember here in West Orange, where we are growing mustaches to raise awareness on men's health issues. Jax is even lamer than mine, but he's working on it. Yeah. So, Council President, thank you for the opportunity. As you mentioned, tomorrow is Veterans Day, and to honor that sentiment, to continue in a long tradition here in West Orange of honoring our veterans, those that have served us, we wanted to recognize a very special veteran, a very special resident here in our community, Vincent Jimmy Andriola. And I asked his grandson what the significance of Jimmy was when his name is Vincent, and he couldn't tell me. So we hope it's a good story. But we wanted to recognize Jimmy for his incredible service to this country. We are proud that he is a resident of our community. Born in the Vailsburg section of Newark, he was drafted in May of 1943, would spend the rest of World War II serving, assigned to the 5th Army, 36th Infantry Division. He fought in the Battle of the Hill, 1205, helped to hold the Winter Line during the war, and was a part of many battles. During his experience in World War II, he received many medals and commendations, recognized with the Country Combat Infantry Badge, the Bronze Star, the ETO Medal, 4 Battle Stars, the Presidential Unit Citation, World War II Victory Medal, and 3 Purple Hearts. Came to West Orange in 1983 with his wife Dolly of 62 years, I learned tonight. They raised 2 daughters, 5 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. 2 of his grandchildren are members of our West Orange family here. Joe is a member of our fire department, and Pat is a member of our police department. I am told, and in the several times I've met him, I agree, he is one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. We are proud to call him a resident of our community, a friend to this nation and to this country and to us as residents. And in honor of Veterans Day, though Veterans Day is known nationally in this country for the significant sacrifice that so many have made, we'd like to further honor Jimmy and his family by officially proclaiming that tomorrow, November 11th, will officially and forever be known as Jimmy Andriola Day in the Township of West Orange.
Be nice.
However,
You want a bottle of water?
quite the opposite. Yeah.
Pass this thing. Pass this thing. Throw it.
Or pass them on. Oh, sorry. Joe, you want a water?
Yes,
Thank you.
you got one. I'll get you here.
Thank you. So nice segue. I know our library director is here, David Kuby. Thank you, David. So it'll be a nice segue for a nice announcement that you just gave me. Please
Yeah.
introduce yourself and tell us what you're up to. Yes, sir.
Though the family is obviously welcome here, I just don't know if you want to give an opportunity maybe for the family to get all these grandkids and great-grandkids.
Not until they hear what Dave has to say.
so Dave has to say, okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm the director of the West Orange Public Library, and this is also for veterans. On Monday, December 1st, from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., any veterans who do not have dental insurance are welcome to come to the library, and there will be a van there, and there will be free dental checkups at the library by Zufall Health, and this is a federally qualified health center. So if you'd like to come to the West Orange Public Library on 46 Mount Pleasant Avenue, right across the parking lot, be happy to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So if you know anyone, it's a free dental clinic. Please invite them, make them aware. Monday, December 1st, all day from 10:30 through 3:30 at the library. Thank you. Okay. Good night. No, that's okay. We're awake now.
Oh, yeah.
So that gives us another segue to talk about long and healthy lives. And I introduce Perry Bashkoff to talk about Movember.
Hello, everybody. Perry Bashkoff. I am the team captain for Team MoWo, which is our Movember team here in West Orange. This is our second year of growing. As Mayor Parisi stated, this is not the normal look for me, at least not for now. But we are in year 2, where we are growing mustaches here in West Orange. Some folks have opted for the No Shave November, which is just essentially what that is, not shaving for the entire month. And we are raising funds for men's health issues, both physical and mental. Last year we raised an amazing $11,000 in year 1. Thank you. We are on our way there for year 2. We are about $1,500 in already. And I was just talking with Sean how most of the time people start really soliciting for additional fundraising once we get past the first 10 days or so of the mustache and feel a little bit more comfortable telling our friends and family about this. So for anyone who has not joined, who wants to join or get involved, and this is for everybody, every resident, every business, doctors, organizations, whatever it is, you can donate as a group, you can donate as an individual, you can create a team of your own group, of your own organization, that we can then become a network, is what it's called. You're going to go to westorange.org/Movember, and all the information is there. You're able to donate there, you're able to sign up there, and I highly encourage people to take part. We've had a lot of good coverage thus far. We had a kickoff event at the new renovated Essex House. We had over 75 people there that night, which was absolutely amazing. And we will probably go back there for the end of month because they have been so supportive of this program. So more info to come on that.
Okay, I have a question. I have a
Yes.
question. For the donations, can you talk about, this is really a nationwide.
It's a global, it's actually a global program.
Okay.
That's right.
So then talk about the donations and where that
Absolutely.
money is going.
So all the donations go directly to the Movember Foundation, and the Movember Foundation is a legit 501c3 that they've raised millions and millions of dollars over the years. So none of the money actually touches West Orange or touches the group that is putting this together. The donations are made online directly, and they have partnered with a variety of different established organizations as well. Cancer societies, prostate cancer societies, mental health societies and whatnot, so that the funds are directly put towards those specific organizations. So again, it couldn't be easier to do so. And look, if you're not going to donate and you're not going to participate, I think we're at least asking people, go get your physical. Remind the people in your life to go get their physical. And I, as a man participating, often am needing to be reminded to go to the doctor. And if you're sick, go to the doctor. Take care of yourself. It's very important. So that's Movember. Wanted 2 extra seconds, just kind of talk a little bit about social and
Sure.
some marketing stuff that we got going on in town, because I will say now we're in year 2 of my involvement in the social media stuff, and it couldn't be going any better. And the reason I say that is not just for the items that we're involved in, but exactly what social media is about is getting other people talking. And for anyone who is active in social, you see that there's a lot of groups popping up on Facebook. There's a lot of different things happening where everyone wants to get involved and they want to talk about all the great things that are happening in West Orange, and that's exactly what we wanted to happen. So they're either taking cues from what we're posting, or they are seeking it out and doing it on their own, which is, again, exactly what social media is about and why we want to encourage it. So there's neighborhood stuff, there's community stuff, and it's all working out really well. On our Facebook page, we are reaching, depending on the week, between 30 and 50,000 people are seeing our posts on a weekly basis. Now, they're not all in West Orange, but that's even better, because obviously we have a lot of good things to talk about that are happening in town. Twitter, Instagram, we're seeing all of our activities increase, and obviously depending on the platform, you're seeing a lot of engagement now from some of our the youth in town on Instagram, which is where they're flocking to, as opposed to Facebook, but a lot of great stuff happening. If people are not following or not involved, it's West Orange Info. Whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube, West Orange Info. So facebook.com/West Orange Info. Find us, like us, get involved in the conversation that's happening. It is a very positive conversation. And I think that it's just going to continue to grow. We're over 6,000 people on the Facebook page, and when we started, we were just about 1,000. So we are growing at leaps and bounds. So that's that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. Any questions? So, they're going to open our meeting.
Yeah, we're going to open the public meeting.
Sure. Okay.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council President McCartney and Town Council people. I have a couple of announcements here. Susan, did you go over the Chamber of Commerce Thanksgiving yet?
Not yet.
Okay,
Go right
so
ahead. Please go right
On
ahead.
Wednesday, November 26th at 12 p.m., the West Orange Chamber of Commerce is hosting its annual Community Thanksgiving Luncheon at Mayfair Farms. You could get information and tickets and details at westorangechamber.com. The West Orange Health Department is offering pneumonia and flu vaccinations. They're going to be available to residents 18 years and older. So you could go to our website at westorange.org for more information. Curbside leaf pickup continues through December 31st. There's a leaf collection schedule at westorange.org, or you can call the Department of Public Works at 973-325-4067. It's been brought to our attention that there have been some phone scams going around, especially to senior citizens, it seems. So we want to just tell everyone to be mindful of these scams. Some of them are even representing government agencies. So if you suspect that this may be a scam, please don't give out any of your personal information. A quick note to the passengers who take the Jitney, we have a new Jitney bus schedule. So you could find information on westorange.org/Jitney. And I urge you to join our Facebook groups page at facebook.com/groups/WO Jitney. The Holy Trinity West Orange Food Pantry needs some Thanksgiving turkeys. They're about 50 turkeys short of their goal to provide regular and Thanksgiving meals to 500 plus monthly members. It's so great. The turkeys must be frozen, and if you can contact the food pantry administrator, her name is Cynthia Cummings. She can be reached at 201-341-9217, and she could be emailed at holytrinitywo@gmail.com. Excuse me? Yes, the phone number is 201-341-9217. And again, the website is holytrinitywo@gmail.com. That's all tonight. And I just, on a personal note, wanted to thank Council President McCartney and Councilman Cirillo, and also especially Mayor Parisi on their re-election.
Thank you. I thank all West Orange voters for coming out, so thank you. Next on our agenda, we have a best practices survey. John, you want
No, 7 o'clock, yeah, public meeting.
Every year, every municipality has to fill out a list of 50 questions, which is the best practices survey, and submit that to the Division of Local Government Services, which we have done and submitted in October as required. Part of the requirement is for there to be a public acknowledgement of the completion of this document at a meeting. There's no action required of the council, and basically this is the acknowledgement that has been submitted, and we've got copies for the public, obviously copies for the council and mayor. And just to summarize 50 questions, the question you can answer yes, no, they might be not applicable, or perspective if it's something new where perhaps you could consider in the future. Each question is worth 2 points, and you get 2 points for every question except a no. And so this year, we are receiving a score of 94 for having answered 47 questions in any of the appropriate answers other than no. And I think that's one more or two more percentage points than last year. And please, based on this, we will receive 100% aid this year, and there will not be any reduction made. If you don't score high enough, depending on where you are in the scale, you could have aid reduced. Certainly, we're not and never have been in that circumstance.
So, John, when you say that there are no's in here for some of the answers, does that mean that it's something that we're working on, or it's just something we don't do?
It could be something that we weren't able to get done. It could be something that, as a matter of policy, council has decided not to do. Like I said, there's only 3 of them,
Okay.
and they're not. I don't think that there's anything significant change from last year.
And so it doesn't affect our aid,
Absolutely.
receiving our aid. Good. Any questions?
I just wanted to say,
Councilman?
we just got this a few minutes ago.
Mhm.
I guess it was emailed a little bit before 6 o'clock, so I just haven't had a chance to look at it, and I just wanted to reserve maybe at the next council meeting, if I have some questions, I'll provide them to you ahead of time.
Of course. There really isn't any action on our part. This is administrative that you needed to take in so we can absorb what's here.
What we have done as of right now is the requirement, basically, again,
To submit
a
it.
public acknowledgement of the document and the submission.
Okay. Any questions? The other thing on our agenda is to talk about council meeting dates. I don't know if we want to do this on the conference agenda or after our meeting. It seems to me we took a very long time last year going over this. I hope everyone had a chance to look at the calendar. What? Do you see any conflicts? Did anyone have any? Did you have a chance to look at the calendar?
I just wanted to ask about December. We've only got one meeting tentatively scheduled in December. Is that,
I think
haven't had a
that's
chance to
typical.
look at the ordinance. Is that typical? Is it allowed under the ordinance? I know previously, we were only having one meeting in December, but the ordinance didn't allow it. And I just wondered, have we changed the ordinance sufficient language to allow that?
Ken, do you need a copy? I think there really are no weeks here. There is nothing left to even schedule a meeting here between a week of Hanukkah, Christmas recess, and the fact that the last week in November, we have 2 holidays here for Thanksgiving, followed by one meeting. There really aren't any other days left.
Anyone who wants the ordinance changed can request it. I don't see a need to change the ordinance, quite frankly. It's part of the council rules, and those can be changed by resolution, adopted by resolution. This council traditionally has, at the beginning of every year or end of every year, decided when it was going to have its meetings. There have generally been, at least the summer months, there's one meeting. November and December, sometimes there have been one meeting.
That's what I
It varies
recall.
from year to year, and it's really up to you folks to decide when you want to meet.
This worked perfect for me.
Any conflicts? Pardon?
Just wanna say
Councilman.
Something, thank you, Council President. In the cases where we only have one meeting during the month, I just want to make sure that, you know, a lot of the business is addressed in the prior meetings so that we don't run into any issues, and I'm sure that's the case. So if that's the case, then I feel comfortable. Meaning that if, for example, in December we only have one meeting, I'm sure that the administration would address all the business in the prior months so that we don't run into any issues administratively.
I think that was the point I was trying to make, that in November, we're meeting the last week in November, that pretty much everything could be wrapped up by then, because then it leads into this, basically a holiday month.
And during the holidays, everything is slow. So long as the business is addressed in advance.
Mayor, it looked like you were going to say something about that.
Council President, I just wanted to assure the council that you guys schedule meetings as you see fit, and the administration will be sure that we schedule important agenda items appropriately to keep the town moving. So it's entirely up to the council's discretion. But we'll adhere to that and be sure we schedule appropriately.
So John, from an accounting point of view, though, look at it that way, December 15th would be our last time. Would any end-of-year reports, anything would be done by then?
Well, if you recall, it has been our practice since I've been here to recess that last meeting as opposed to adjourn it, so that whatever we need to do at year's end could then be done at one meeting, brought back to order just after the first year. So
Okay.
it's not a concern.
Good. Do we vote on this? Is this something we have to vote on?
It's not really, it's,
You can't vote on it until you go in open session anyway, right? We're still in.
well, yeah, this was a discussion. I don't know if it's anything that needs to be voted on. It just let me know if it works and I put it together,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, if
Okay.
anybody has an objection to one of these dates, they should, say something so that you consider it.
Correct.
Right.
There's no vote necessary in this.
I'm good.
Everyone's good? Look good? Okay. Do you see any conflicts? Do you see any conflicts? No? No? Good.
All right,
Okay,
good.
we're good to go.
Thank you.
Okay. We can start?
Okay.
I'll call them up.
No, I want to.
Okay, you have it on the agenda. Who would,
I don't,
the
but
public one?
Okay, I see our Girl Scout troop leaders are here.
Yeah, but I have to
Oh, I'm sorry.
do the
What are you telling me?
announcement first.
Okay, we're going to have an announcement, and then we will invite you to come up, please.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. A notice of this meeting was mailed to the Star Ledger and the West Orange Chronicle on November 23, 2013. A notice of this meeting was also posted on the bulletin board in the Municipal Building, West Orange, and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk of the Township of West Orange on November 23, 2013. Councilman Cirillo?
Present.
Councilman Guarino?
Present.
Councilman Krokoviac? Councilwoman Spango? Council President McCartney?
Present.
Mayor Parisi.
Present.
So I invite the Girl Scouts. We have the Girl Scout cadets from Edison Middle School, St. Cloud Elementary School Daisies, kindergarten and first graders to come up for our Pledge of Allegiance. My understanding is that they have been talking about or learning about in their curriculum about Veterans Day. Come on up. Everyone, please rise to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, guys, you ready? Go ahead, start off. Good job.
Elisa? Okay, how about you could have a seat right there in the front? Karen, taking a picture? Okay,
Yeah,
right
I
there.
did.
Take a pic.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Councilwoman, the members of City Council. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. Our Daisy Girl Scouts and Cadet Girl Scouts and 4 of their siblings are here with poppies. We recently learned about the importance of the poppy as a symbol of remembrance for our veterans. It stems back to World War I, interestingly. We also recently interviewed veterans in our lives because we want our children to learn about the contributions that the veterans have made to our society. So it's our great pleasure here tonight to be here tonight. We have poppies with us, and we would like to give them to any veterans who are in the audience or present on the council. If you would please stand up so we can show our respects to you, that would be our great pleasure. If there are any veterans, yes?
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Oh, here we go. Mr. Gordon. Art, please rise so they can give you a puppy. Yes, Kenny?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
The reference to the poppies, people may be interested that the veterans actually sell little replicas of poppies at various public venues to raise money for their programs and for their services. So if you see a veteran who's wearing some sort of military memorabilia handing out these small poppies, you might want to just go up and give a donation, and it will really help the military, the veterans. So thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Okay. Oh, yes. Approval of minutes of previous meeting, executive session minutes, August 21st, 2012, November 27th, 2012, January 22nd, 2013, February 19th, March 5th, March 19th, May 7th, August 20th, September 17th, and October 1st, 2013.
Consent?
Consent.
Sure.
Sure.
I just noticed, just if the administration knows, there, or perhaps the clerk knows, one of the executive session minutes is from 2012. It had to do with potential litigation from the West Essex Highlands. I note that usually when the minutes are released, it's because the situation no longer requires them to be secret. Is there something else that's happened in our litigation relationship with the West Essex Highlands
Not that I'm aware
folks?
of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I don't know who,
No.
I don't remember who was handling that litigation. You probably should double check with whoever actually handled it. I don't know if it was somebody in Frank's firm or if it
Right.
was Madam in Scotland or whatever, but.
Okay, I can do that. I can look into it.
There was also some minutes from January 2013. It had to do with a contract that the state was investigating, and we had discussed that we were going to hire Mr. Edwin Matthews to, I think, represent the township in any sort of legal affairs, and then also to conduct an internal investigation and make a report. I don't know whether it was to the council or to the township. These minutes are here too. Has anything happened with either the investigation or the investigation by the state or Mr. Matthews' internal investigation?
I have spoken with both representatives of the state and with Mr. Matthews from time to time over the past year, and as far as I know, there is no conclusion to that matter, so it's still something that can't be disclosed.
Good, thank you.
Report of Township Officers, none. Reading of petitions and communications and bids. Letter from Mayor Parisi for advice and consent of the Township Council to reappoint Joseph Riopel to the West Orange Public Library Board effective January 1st, 2015, and continuing through December 31st, 2019.
Consent.
Bills. Thank you. Are there any questions on the bills?
Consent.
Resolutions. Are any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Yeah, that's right. We skipped over public comment.
Oh, my Lord have mercy.
Wow.
I thought, yeah.
We jumped right into our agenda. Sorry,
Yes, we
we
did.
did.
Apologies.
Don't apologize.
Okay, the flag salute. We've skipped over public comment. If anyone does have a comment, please come forward. Name and address. Mr. Leonard, welcome.
Gracious.
I'm Rich Leonard, 12 Fernwood Avenue, Roseland, one of your suburbs of West Orange. I'd like to congratulate the winning candidates in this election, Mayor
Thank
Parisi,
you.
Council President McCartney, Councilman Cirillo. Compliment the West Orange residents for the debates that I attended, for their decorum and the questions that they asked all of the people in the community. I also understand, I read a memo outside that winning candidates are allowed 5 minutes, losing candidates are allowed 1, so I'll try to stay to that 1 minute part of it. What I learned from West Orange residents is that almost to a person, the people in West Orange love their area and section of the community to the exclusion of others. Whatever section they're in, they seem to say, this is the best area of West Orange. That sense of pride came through from the people that I talked to in West Orange during my campaign. I want to thank the people who supported me and those who didn't support me but at least considered my candidacy. And I would hope that the representative in the 4th Freeholder District will keep in touch with the township committees in the 11 towns. This is my first of what I consider a tour of all of the 11 towns to thank the voters in those towns and to address the idea of continued communication among the 11 communities for both shared services and making sure that we get our fair share from the County of Essex. And I just want to thank the residents of West Orange,
Great.
congratulate the new people who are here. I won't spend too much time, but I think all of you who are on this council have my cell phone number. It's not a farewell tour. It may be later on, but right now it's not. I thank you again for
Thank
allowing me
you.
to speak and say thank you to the residents of West Orange. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you.
And thank you for recognizing the sponsoring agencies, Men Make a Difference and West Orange African Heritage Group, because they really did conduct civil, responsible, very informative forums. Thank you. Any other comments?
Claire Silvestri, 20 Grandview Avenue. I just wanted to make a comment. There's been a lot of improvements made to the council chamber, the redoing of the benches with the little pads. I see that we have a brand new council dais. I'm just going to reiterate my request from I think about 2 months ago about improving the microphones on the dais. We're continuing to sit in the back, and I frankly can't understand half of what's being said. I know that there's a problem when you're watching the video. So I'd really request, it's very nice, the chamber's been painted and everything looks really nice. However, again, I think the most important thing that goes on in this council chamber is the dissemination of information, and anything that can be done to make it easier for the public to hear and understand would be greatly appreciated. So I'd like to again request a status of where the capital improvement to getting the wireless mics is. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes?
Rosary Morelli, Ralph Road. On resolution 202-14, the emergency temporary appropriation resolution for the purpose of funding eminent tax appeals. What is that number up to now? Are we over $5 million?
Continue your comments and then they'll answer at the end.
Okay. Best practices. Looking at pay to play and looking at the snow plowing bids. Any of the incumbents get money from any of these companies that are bidding for the snow contracts? Thank you.
Christine Bosco, 4 Mason Place. I have a couple of questions. I also have a question on 202-14. Now, I know from the budgets and going back 4 years, over the last 4 years, I've brought this up before, we allocated $650,000 per year. So I came up with $2.6 million that we have spent just through the budget and on those assessment or appeals. Then there was $5.3 million, I believe, that we bonded for other appeals that had to do with commercial and so forth, and I don't know if it had to do with some residential or not. So so far the taxpayers, between the bonding and what we have budgeted, it's $7.9 million. Now we're looking at 2.1 to appropriate, but I know that this probably won't be the last number for the year end. But altogether, the 5.3 was bonded, and it wasn't in the budget that the taxpayers paid for. And now we're going to put 2.1 additional to that, so we're looking at 7.4 million that we're bonding for appeals, in addition to paying probably in the budget this year $650,000, and already paid 2.6 million over the last 4 years. My question is on the bonding. If you look at the 5.3 and the 2.1 million, we're looking at 7.4 million, and the taxpayers obviously will be taxed to make up the difference in the lost revenue on this. We all know that, and the tax rate goes up for most of us. What I'd like to know is, in addition to that, because we are bonding this money, there is a cost to bond. And I'd like to know what the interest rate would be on the bonds if we're looking at $8 million, and what that's going to be breaking down for additional cost to the taxpayers, not only on what they're going to be picking up on the appeals with their tax rate going up, but they're also going to be hit with this interest on the bonds. And I think it's kind of crazy that we're bonding money, we're paying additional beyond the actual dollar amounts, and all the taxpayers are having to pay for that. It's getting a little out of control. But my other question has to do with Resolution 193-14 and the Garden State Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. Now, we're offering this to a 501c3 corporation. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but is not the Downtown Alliance also a 501c3? And this is the first time I believe we've offered this. And I'd like to know, in doing so, are we, the taxpayers, I mean, first of all, I'd like to know how many employees they have that for this nonprofit. Will they be covered? Will their families also be covered under the plan? Who's going to be paying the cost? What percent they are going to contribute towards it, or are they going to pay 100%? And that is what I'd like to know. I'm also have a concern, and I'm sorry I don't have the resolution number, but it has to do with the Mountaintop League and the $10,000 we're giving them for the town offering this hockey recreational program. I don't believe we've ever offered this before that I know of. And I'm kind of concerned that, I mean, we kind of got rid of the rec programs, even though people did pay for that, but the taxpayers were subsidizing it because of the costs involved. Now we're giving Mountaintop $10,000 to run this league at the expense of the rest of the taxpayers who really aren't even using it. And I don't understand the purpose behind it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I'm sorry. Good evening, Mark Meyerowitz, 19 Howell Drive, and I'm sure you all can anticipate what I'm going to ask, but just in case you haven't, I'm hoping to hear that PRISM is now current on their taxes, because November 1st passed, November 2nd passed, and it would have been a good opportunity for them to pay their overdue taxes. So that's my first question. And my other comment is about, is this on? My other comment is about, I was deeply concerned that there's a lot of misinformation going around being spread by the council that the lawsuit and myself as a plaintiff are holding up the redevelopment project, which I find to be, kind of far-fetched, because we're not suing PRISM Development. They're not named in the suit. We're suing you guys, as the redevelopment authority. And the reason why we brought the lawsuit is because you're trying to avoid all oversight. You're trying to avoid oversight by the taxpayers and the voters by not allowing a referendum on the bond. And you're also not going to go to the Municipal Oversight Board, which is supposed to approve these bonds and things of that matter. So it seems to me that this whole thing is just a way of getting out of any type of oversight. And that has bad implications. I don't know if you remember in the play Evita, there's the song about the Eva Peron Foundation, and there's a wonderful line in that song. It's like, it goes like this: when the money comes rolling in, you don't keep books. And the implication is when there's a lot of money floating around, people get fast and loose with money, and that there's no oversight. So when you have a situation in which there's no oversight, it causes the citizens, the taxpayers, and the plaintiffs a lot of concern. So, but we're not suing PRISM. They're free to do whatever they want. I'm sure the amount of money at question, if they had a good finance package from a bank or from their investors, a few $1 million, they would be able to raise extra money and roll that in. And so it's really not a big deal. But the oversight is a big deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anthony.
Hi, Anthony. Excuse me, Anthony Puglisi, representing County Executive Joe DiFincenzo this evening. I just want to give you a list of upcoming events that are going to be happening throughout the county. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so if I start hacking up a hairball, I'm sorry. Our 8th Annual Holiday Lights Spectacular at Turtleback Zoo. begins the day after Thanksgiving, that's November 28th, and continues to January 4th. Once again, admission is free. It's open nightly from 5 to 9. In the beginning, it's just a few days. It's November 28th to 30th, and then December 5th, 6th, and 7th, and then every night from December 2nd on. And once again, we're asking visitors to bring non-perishable food items, gently used winter coats, and new unwrapped toys, which we would then distribute to organizations that help the needy. At our environmental center, we again have our annual Sustainable Homes and Habitats Gingerbread Contest. December 8th is the deadline, and then the homes will be on display from December 10th to 19th. If you have a sweet tooth like me, you get very hungry when you see these things. However, you can look, but you can't touch. At Kips Castle, we have a couple events. Holiday at Kips during the month of December from Wednesdays to Sundays each week. The first floor of the castle will be open, and it will be decorated in a 1928 era. That's free admission. And then we have in the evenings at December 4th, 11th, and 18th, they're going to have candlelight tours. There is a $5 charge for that, so you need to make reservations early. All this information is on the website, which is EssexCountyNJ.org, and we look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you.
Anthony, I just want to say, though, that you're calling them sustainable homes, but I want everyone to understand that these are gingerbread houses that students are making, and a few adults, and they're so sophisticated because these are gingerbread houses that have solar panels, rain barrels, geothermal flooring, all of those energy efficiencies that we talk about for our own homes. So yes, they are sustainable homes, but these are gingerbread houses on display. It's an excellent exhibit, and I encourage everyone to try to get there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'm going to close the portion of the public comment. I think I'll just work backwards because of my notes. Mark Meyerowitz talks about taxes overdue. I don't know if we have a report yet on. I have not heard if there is any, if they have paid. But when you talk about misinformation, and you bring up the referendum again, when that was discussed, the referendum issue has already been dismissed. So the only thing that's pending, so the misinformation is that no, it didn't go to referendum because it was already decided and determined that that was dismissed. The Supreme Court decision that remains, hopefully by November 12th, to be heard, oral arguments, that will be built, that will determine if the bond should go to the local finance board. Whatever they decide, that's what we will do. So I don't think that that is any misinformation whatsoever. Christine, your questions about Ms. Bosco, the interest rate on the bond. John, I'm sure that you have that information at your fingertips. I don't.
Yeah, I can address the number of questions that were raised by Ms. Bosco. Last year, council approved, and we did bond $3.3 million, not $5.3 million, okay, to pay for tax appeals for previous year tax appeals. We do, as Ms. Bosco indicated, we do budget a certain amount of money, traditionally $650,000. Those funds go to current year tax appeals. It's a distinction with a difference. Current year appeals are based on, for instance, for this year, the taxes that were assessed in 2014. That is what we utilize, the monies that are within the budget for the 2014 budget. The 3.3 last year and what we'll look for the council to approve this year is for previous year tax appeals. So, for instance, this year, what we're looking at right now is we're looking for approval for $2.1 million in total for 2014 for tax years 2013 and before. And the reason that distinction is important is because a law does not allow the township to finance current year appeals. It does allow you to finance previous year appeals. Now, that's a decision for council to make, and, you know, appeals are appeals. We have to keep in mind that appeals are because taxpayers, some entity, some professional, or legal law, a judge or a panel has determined that a particular taxpayer has been assessed too high. So as a matter of fairness, they get to get that money back, and we have to give that money back. Now, we've anticipated those funds within our budget, and because we have an appeal, there's now a deficit. So we have to replace those funds, or we can just pay them without replacing them. By replacing them by going through funding them through bonding, we can push that payback over 3, 4, 5 years, so that the impact of paying back those taxes on the taxpayers is diminished. Instead of, for instance, at $2 million this year, if the council decides not to bond this year, that $2 million will force a 4% increase in taxes next year in the municipal budget. 4%, just on that alone. Forget anything else. So by approving it to go to the local finance board and getting the approval to finance it over 4 years, for argument's sake, that diminishes that to a 1% hit per year over that 4 years, as opposed to 4 years. So it's really a policy decision for council to make. When do you want the taxpayers to pay this bill, and over what period of time? As far as the interest rate is concerned, we happen to be in extraordinary times. And we've been in extraordinary times before, but it was the other end of extraordinary. Interest rates right now, we just have bond anticipation notes over the past couple of months, ranging from 0.25% to just under 0.3%. So on a $2 million bond, we're talking approximately $2,500 a year over a 4-year period of interest cost. And by incurring that interest cost, which is a total of $10,000, that then it allows the taxpayers to pay it back over a period of time, and certainly within their budgetary views would be easier for them to budget. They know moving forward, as opposed to coming up with it at one time in next year's budget. So these are policy decisions for you to make. We're suggesting that this is a unique time where interest rates are so low that it makes sense to finance these over a few years to give the taxpayer the benefit of that. Sure. That, quite frankly, the council can choose not to do that if you wish. There are consequences. Like I said, it means that the next year's budget will have to be hit in completion. You'll have less surplus to anticipate. In next year's budget, we traditionally anticipate about $3 million of surplus. If the number were $2 million, or somewhere between $2 and $3 million, that could mean most, if not all, of the surplus that we would anticipate in next year's budget we wouldn't have, and therefore taxes would rise. Or you'd have to make decisions about cutting other services and things, how you would handle that. So I think I've addressed every
tax appeal
issue that was brought up.
Sounds it. Thank you. How about the issue about improving the speaker system? Since you worked on the interior design.
Well, you know, I've renovated a lot of houses in my day, and you know, just this room, not like every other project I've ever. When you get into it, you find out that there are things that you thought could be done easily, and perhaps are in a different order. And the truth of the matter is, once we got into it, found out what the actual wiring for the entire system was, and looking at it, we determined that what we needed to do was finish these improvements first, and then move on to we're working with the sound system. So that's what we're doing. You'll see that right now we've drilled temporary holes in the top here to temporarily run the microphones that we have. You know, we're looking at it, quite frankly, across the board. We're looking at with the speaker system and see to determine exactly what issues are still outstanding. We have had a couple of different professionals come in and to give us their opinions on it. We haven't settled on the final determination, but certainly it can't be done until we've done these improvements, and then we'll be able to finish it. And if there's wiring that's required, we'll be able to finalize the wiring, because that should be on the outside of the finished product, not potentially cut while we're doing work. So,
right.
So it's coming.
Work in progress. The other comment that was made was about the hockey team. That was an infusion, a one-time infusion of $10,000 council approved for the Mountaintop League hockey team. They had, for their first year last year, they had to turn students away. They had over 75 students register. This year, the number is steadily growing. Hockey is a very expensive sport. Yes, it does subsidize parents for that program. And this is not an additional funding. This is just the money that was appropriated for it being released. And the hockey team was here to show us how well they were doing. Any other comments? Councilman?
Thank you, Council President. We didn't mention our council liaison thing, so, but if I can, if I can just stop, just like to let the general public know that on Saturday, November 29th, is Amex Small Business Day in West Orange and across the country. And you'll be able to go to area small businesses along Main Street throughout the township, and different vendors will be supplying giveaways, special pricing, food. Fun time to get downtown, and you'll be able to find us all information on the township website and on to the newly launched on December 17th, on the Downtown West Orange Alliance website and on the Chamber website. You will find out what vendors, what stores are participating in Small Business Saturday on the 29th. Also, too, our very successful December 6th will be our holiday open house on Main Street with an expanded trolley ride throughout the township with new and exciting narrators to move you along throughout your tour of downtown, particularly Joe Fagan and Terry Jung from the National Edison Park facility here in West Orange. So I hope everyone will get down here for our open house on December 6th, and you'll find more information on the Township website and the Chamber of Commerce website. And also just to mention that the redesigned and fully implemented and integrated West Orange Downtown Alliance website will be officially launched on December 17th. We'll have a whole rollout for that, and it'll be a very, very exciting website. You'll be very impressed on what you can do throughout the township, looking through the website, businesses, things you can do, community activities. It's going to be a very, very fun experience. Council President, if I just may, about one of the comments about the Mountaintop League. Like I said, like you did say, it is a one-time infusion of a program as a feeder program for our high school. Right now, our high school has no feeder program to build upon a hockey program that was a successful hockey program years ago when my son played. That was a long time ago. But now they're just trying to start the feeder program to build the program back up, and it's a one-time infusion. And to Mr. Gross's point about the, the bonding is it's a decision. It's a policy decision that we have to make for the taxpayers. And when you talk about what the taxpayers are going to pay, just remember that the people making the appeals are taxpayers. So let's just look at it that way too. Thank you, Council President.
Any other comments? Councilman?
Just wanted to follow up. Mr. Gross, do you have any sort of timetable, or does the administration have a timetable on when the microphone system, the sound system, is going to be implemented?
I'm hesitant to give timetables because we're dealing, for instance, with the completion here with contractors, and as good as our contractors are, sometimes the availability of the different materials they need. So we have to finish here. I mean, it's good. I would expect it before the end of the year for sure. I mean, on a broad stroke. Certainly by the end of the year. Okay. I'm hoping it's much sooner than that.
Thank you. Can I just follow up on some of your comments about the tax appeal situation? We have a resolution on our agenda tonight to increase the emergency appropriation to $2.1 million. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I recall that you've said that you expect roughly this year the same amount from last year, which I think you mentioned 3.3 million, something around in there. Is that what we're still expecting here this year?
Given where we are, I believe that we won't hit that number, but it will be more than 2.1. And one other point I want to make in reference to that is, $2.1 million, $3.3 million is a lot of money. But I think you have to put it in the context that we're collecting $205 million a year, and the township's responsible, whether that money goes to the Board of Ed and to the township and to the county, the township is responsible to make up the entire amount.
Not, the Board of Ed, like for instance, if it's $3 million, $1.5 million doesn't come from the Board of Ed, and $750 comes from the county, and $750 comes from the township. The township has to make up the entire amount. So I just think when we're talking about these numbers, which are huge numbers, they're big numbers and they're significant numbers, they have to put in the context that we're talking about an even larger number in terms of percentage of what we're talking about. So at $205 million, $2 million is certainly not an unusual amount of money to have to pay back in tax. And hoping moving forward, obviously, certainly coming through a declining market. Now that we're into an inclining market, I would see that those are going to go away, and ultimately, and we'll get to where we're not having this discussion every year. But right now, based on where we've been, these are good numbers for the council, and it's a good time to be dealing with these issues. And quite frankly, we're trying to accelerate, as opposed, we have the ability to litigate and go through processes. We believe now's the time to try to settle these because of such favorable interest rates to the township.
So as you were making a distinction that we budget $650,000 a year to handle current year tax appeals, how are those looking at this point?
Positive.
Are we going to spend all $650,000? We're going to spend much less, or?
I don't know the answer as to how much we're going to allocate at this point in time, but I know that in terms of filings, we're down from where they were. Now, what the ultimate amounts were still remains to be seen. I wasn't prepared for that tonight because we weren't really talking about current year appeals. I can certainly, by the next meeting, give you a pretty good sense of that.
Oh, okay. That would be good. Thank you. Just a question about, well, perhaps we can just get to that later on when we actually address the resolution. I just wanted to, some of the numbers that were in the resolution itself, I think we can probably just leave that till.
Which resolution?
Till the one that's on the agenda today. We have two resolutions related to this. One, we have additional tax appeals, almost, I think, $200,000, $194,000 in tax appeals that just wanted to ask a couple questions about. We can just leave it till we get to
duplicate payments.
Yeah. One of the things that we hadn't addressed that I think maybe you could address, but we'll address it again when it comes up at the appropriate time when we're considering the resolutions. Just wanted to follow up on the dialogue between Ms. Bosco and the council president about, I'm sorry, not Ms. Bosco, but Mr. Meyerowitz about misinformation. I think what Mr. Meyerowitz was saying was that the delinquent property taxes that PRISM owns is now roughly $1 million. And I just checked the online database today, and they haven't been paid. And I think the point that Mr. Meyerowitz was making is that the property tax delinquency has absolutely nothing to do with the litigation. Not only is PRISM not a party to the litigation that's now before the New Jersey Supreme Court, but there's nothing in the litigation that would prevent them from paying their property taxes, nor, as a matter of fact, their mortgage on the CVS property on Main Street, and yet they're not doing it. I think that's the point that Mr. Meyerowitz was making, is that there is no connection between the two, just that there's litigation does not prevent them from paying their property taxes and not paying their mortgage. So that was, just wanted to maybe perhaps clarify if I misunderstood you. Ms. Morelli, you had asked the question of, you said incumbents, I guess the people on the council, whether we had received any political contributions for any of the potential vendors for the snow contract, and I can tell you that I have not. And again, I'll just follow up on the Ms. Bosco's comments about the insurance for the 501c3. We can bring those up later when they're part of the resolutions that we'll be considering. That's all.
Okay, but let's go back to the 501c3. This is for the West Orange Arts Council. They are not employees. It's strictly volunteer. And this is a 501c3 eligible for insurance coverage under the township's participation. Just explain.
Yeah, I think, there's a new requirement from the Joint Insurance Fund that we officially identify any 501c3 corporations that we're insuring. We have historically insured two different organizations, one being the West Orange Arts Council 501c3 Corp, and the other being Downtown West Orange, or the Downtown Alliance for West Orange. Now, our insurance company requires an official acknowledgement, a designation that coverage is now requiring this coverage be done officially through some type of official action of the council. Now, of course, council adopted by ordinance the creation of the Downtown Alliance, so there's no requirement for any other action other than that, and that satisfied our insurance company. There was no official action that we could find. That doesn't mean it didn't occur. We just couldn't find it, because this goes back to our understanding is a very long time, and we're not even sure when this 501c3 Corp actually began receiving coverage. But we looked back. We couldn't find any official acknowledgement of that in the records, so that's why this resolution is on tonight, just to acknowledge that. Now, certainly the council has the right to say, no, they don't want to provide that coverage, if indeed you do, and then you would have to notify the Arts Council that they'd have to find coverage for themselves. I can tell you that we don't know. One of the questions is going to be, well, geez, what does it cost? And the answer is we don't know, because it is a factor that goes into an ultimate rate for liability purposes. They don't have any employees, as Council President said, so it's not a workers' comp issue. It is, in terms of our potential liability, it is, I'm sure, computed in there. The reality is, it's got to be very, very small, considering our potential liabilities that we have with our day-to-day operations, whether it be police and fire and DPW and et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think that this is in terms of what the ultimate cost is or what the ultimate difference would be if you decided not to, if at all. And we just don't know the answer to that. Certainly, if council does not wish to provide this coverage, you could decide not to provide the coverage. And then we'd notify, they are covered for 2014, that we would notify them that they'd have to find coverage elsewhere. My guess is that it's coverage that if they had to get it on their own as a single entity, it would be significantly more than whatever the cost is now, and that they could obviously elect to pay that from the allocations that you give them for the West Orange Arts Council work, or not. So the council has options here if that's what you choose to do. But again, it's something that has been done historically. We don't think that it's substantial. Economically, there's a substantial difference that we would experience. And certainly, if you decided not to, the Arts Council wouldn't be to do as much of the good work that it does now, or it'd have to find other sources of revenue to do that.
So we've never seen it carved out like this, but it would seem to me that there are other 501c3s.
There are other, but there's only two that are involved with our insurance, and that's the Downtown Alliance and the West Orange Arts Council, 501c3.
Yes.
Mr. Gross, just for the public, could you describe the type of coverage? Because I think that's where there's a little confusion. What coverage are you providing?
Well, they will be covered just like anybody else that does anything, on the basis. For instance, we have volunteers that work for recreation. They're covered. They have the same coverages. It's liability coverage. They don't have any employees. If they were to get employees, we would have to approve that. I mean, I have no reason to believe that they're planning to hire anyone. And we certainly, if they were, that's something we would understand that would be beyond the scope of what's anticipated, and we would bring that back to you. So it's liability, basic liability coverage, so that if in some event that they're doing this, someone has an accident or whatever, and they go to sue the council, that they have coverage. It's
protection.
Thank you.
Council President, I mean,
Yes,
frankly, it's a little hard to imagine the West Orange Arts Council and I don't know what they could do that would give rise to a lawsuit. It's hard to imagine, but it's possible. And this is a volunteer group.
Right.
So, unfortunately, in this day and age, when volunteers want to participate, sometimes they shy away from it because they're afraid, well, suppose somebody sues them. So it's just, I think that part of the benefit of providing coverage like this is to allow and encourage citizens to participate in worthwhile activities that can benefit the town. And it really probably costs us very next to nothing in terms of whatever it adds to our insurance premium.
Thank you. Councilman Cirillo.
Yes. Did we cover OSPAC too when it was a nonprofit under our plan?
I don't, we're not covering it now. I don't know.
I did that.
Okay, I don't.
You did that?
Yes.
Okay, and also, are we covering, you said we're covering the West Orange Downtown Alliance? We are covering.
Yes.
What kind of coverage do we have?
It's the same. It's general
Just
coverage. It's-
liability?
It's the coverage that we have.
It's a blanket.
Basically, what this says is, okay, you are part of us.
I think I
And
understand
then
why we
whatever,
have to
whatever
pass
coverage
this.
we have, they have.
We have to pass this because the GIF state law requires an endorsement in order for a nonprofit to be covered under the public entity.
The GIF wants to make
under
sure
an
that the-
insurance coverage that's only extended to public entities.
The GIF wants to make sure that the governing body is making this decision, a conscious decision to do this, as opposed to, letting something that's been covered and gone on for years. They want to make sure that the governing body made the decision. That's
Right, but in terms of the cost, I mean, we've been carrying that cost before. This is just a formality to officially endorse the process. Now, with us bringing this matter to the public, out a little bit more public, are there other nonprofits that would be interested in us providing that level of
I suspect we'll hear from them. I mean, we haven't been asked, but I mean, I'm sure based on this, there may be,
And where
we
do we
may
draw the
receive questions
line?
about that.
Okay. Okay.
These were the only ones that were required.
Let me just, I just want to follow up with what Mr. Gross said. Understand one thing, these are only nonprofits that are doing work with the township as committees, not anyone who wants to start a nonprofit and say, we want insurance from the town. I mean, technically, this is no different than insuring a volunteer Little League coach. Anybody who volunteers to coach in our programs is covered by our liability insurance. I mean, that's just the way it works. So it's really no different than that.
Councilman Kristofer.
Thank you. Have you asked the GIF to break out what our premium is related to this?
No. We haven't asked. If the council wants us to do that, we can. I can tell you, again, if you just logically thinking it through, when you look at, the potential liabilities that we have, this cannot be significant. I would be shocked if it was anything significant.
I would like to know what the premium is. I know it's not called a premium, but a contribution, I'd like to know.
We'll ask them whether they can provide it.
Okay. When you say basic liability, well, I'm sorry, before I get to that, I thought in the resolution the resolution makes a distinction between the West Orange Arts Council and a 501c3 organization. So what is the distinction between the two?
The Arts Council is the township. They're part. They're a committee of the township. They are already covered. It's their activities that, with reference to the 501c3 corp, that would not have coverage. So if you were not to adopt this resolution.
So what does the 501c3 for the West Orange Arts Council, what does it do?
Raises money for the Arts Council.
Raises
so that
money.
They can do arts and crafts for the township. They raise their own money.
So it's actively
Membership.
raising money in support of the programs of the West Orange Arts Council?
That's correct.
Okay. So,
For a public purpose.
okay. So just for an example, I heard you say general liability, but I didn't hear officers and directors. I didn't hear any sort of malfeasance type of coverage. You're talking about an entity that's raising money. So I don't know what their books are. I had asked you just to get some more information about it, but let's just say somebody stole $50,000 from, or allegedly stole $50,000 from this 501c3. How would that impact the coverage that we're providing to them?
It's a crime.
Yeah, that's a crime.
It's civil liability. They'd be arrested.
And at a $10,000,
That has nothing to do with insurance.
at a $10 membership, to be a member of the Arts Council, their funds are nowhere near $50,000.
If I could just ask the question to get it answered, let's just say that somebody gave the West Orange Arts Council $50,000 and the money was stolen or lost or whatever, and they decided to sue whoever the trustees or the directors of it are we liable in any way if something like that happens?
I don't think so. I'm not sure I'm following I don't see how there would be civil liability under a general liability policy for something like that. You're talking about somebody committing a crime, a wrong, an intentional wrong. So, I mean,
the insurance company.
For the most part, coverage under this policy is going to involve people getting injured in some fashion. At an event, you know, somebody falls down or somebody gets struck by a car or something. That's the kind of coverage that normally the JIF would cover.
I understand that. I hear people saying things that, but to my way of thinking, it doesn't address the issue. If there's some litigation involved for loss or theft of money, again, let's say Mark Zuckerberg gives the Art Council 501c3 $50,000, it disappears, and he sues the Arts Council. Are we liable for either a loss or for legal defense on that? I'm just trying to figure out whether our coverage extends to that.
To be quite honest, I don't know for sure, but I don't think so. But I mean, you're talking, I mean, I can't analyze, you know, I don't want to give you a legal analysis of that fact scenario without researching it and so forth, but I don't think so. And it's just not something that would happen in a situation like this. Yeah, go ahead.
My answer to you, Councilman, would be if it's a legitimate lawsuit, then we would probably be liable. But logic dictates that that's not a legitimate lawsuit.
Okay. Well, of course, the whole reason you have insurance is to try to deal with things that you can't foresee being an actual act. That's why I'm trying to figure that out. And obviously the same thing with the Downtown West Orange Alliance. I was not aware that we are providing insurance coverage for them as well.
And I think it's the answer. Part of the answer is not that the township would be liable, but our insurance coverage would be liable. So they would be covered. Whatever liability there would be covered by the insurance. Now, would that go into future ratings? Yes. And if that occurred in the next year, would council consider whether they were going to continue to insure this entity? Probably not, if that happened. And therefore, that liability, to the extent there would be future liability or future cost to the township, you wouldn't be providing that insurance. That would not. So that exposure wouldn't go into your rating. So you'd avoid that. So
But we have had this coverage for almost 20 years now. So I mean, that's how old the Arts Council is, if not, I don't know how older than that. So they have been covered all this time, and right now this is being carved out. That's all.
This is just, to the extent that you're not looking to change the status quo, this is housekeeping.
Right.
So just to, if I could follow up on this, if we're insuring the Downtown West Orange Alliance, they had some litigation issues, I don't know, the last year, 18 months.
That came out of, if I may answer that question? That came out of the general operating budget. That didn't come from an insurance company. Okay. That litigation cost the Downtown Alliance $20,000 out of the operating budget, not from an insurance company, not from the township.
Okay, so that was not part of the coverage that we were providing the Alliance.
In order to determine what's covered, you have to read the insurance policy.
Okay. I read the policy.
I assume that's a fairly long document, and it's probably complicated. So.
Oh, I'm sure it is. But I figured between the CFO and the VA that somebody has read it and could answer the question. So, but if we can't, then I'll just move on.
I mean, typically most litigation, the defense litigation, usually the insurance company doesn't get involved in it until the amount of money reaches a part where you're over your self-insured retention. So, you know, if a case is a relatively small case, the insurance company never gets involved in defending it. But if it becomes where your secondary insurance then kicks in above your self-insured retention, then that's when they would generally get involved. Again, something of this nature, it's never going to get to that.
Right. We're ready to move on because these are all hypotheticals that. Okay.
Thank you, Council President. I don't want to beat a dead horse. We'll talk about that on the insurance issue. Let's see, what else do I have? No, item number 1, litigation, holding up financing. Mr. Meyerowitz talked about how that may not be accurate because he said that the implications of $6.3 million are not a big deal. But the other issue that we forgot to mention, Mark, is that there's also the 30-year tax abatement, and if we enumerated that, so the impact would probably be bigger, meaning that if if you would be successful in the legal process, the financial implications for the entire deal, real estate deal, would not only be the $6.3 million, but also the whatever the long-term aggregate apportionment of that 30-year tax abatement. So we have to consider that too when we analyze that. Thank you for clarifying the issues on the bonding and where we are. We do have to keep in mind that we have to, moving forward, that those amounts are growing. Granted, we're blessed with good interest rates right now, and minimum impact. At least your explanation allows us to make a decision on whether we're going to raise taxes or, take advantage of the historically low interest rates. So I appreciate that. That was very helpful, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. As far as contributions from any contractors bidding on snow services, I saw the list. I've never received any contributions from those folks bidding. And other than that, Council President, I do want to thank the public for just extend my gratitude for their votes and for allowing me the opportunity to move forward my public service in West Orange. So on behalf of my family, I just want to thank everyone. Big thank you to Township.
Excellent.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Council President. I don't think there's much more to add. Mr. Gross, I think you answered Ms. Bosco and Ms. Morelli's questions, and you did it rather well. As far as, where am I? The snow plowing that Mrs. Morelli asked, I have no affiliation. I've never had anything with any of the vendors. I have no connection with any of them as well. And I think you also addressed the sound system, so I have nothing else to add.
Great. Okay, Madam Clerk.
I didn't receive any money either.
Yeah, no. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Are there any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Councilwoman Spango, any resolutions?
I think I'm okay.
Councilman Cirillo.
Yeah, I just want to make a point on that insurance resolution. I don't want to pull it. You know what really just raised questions was the fact that it's very vague when it says insurance coverage, and we started talking about just liability. But I see Councilman Guarino shaking his head and agrees that it just says insurance coverage, so we don't know what we're talking about. I'm glad that it's just liability, general liability. So I think that's why it raised a lot of questions here on the panel. I just wanted to add that. Other than that, I'm not pulling anything today, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman Krakowiak.
Thank you, Council President. Could I pull Resolution 193-14, having to do with the insurance coverage, and then also 194-14, the grant application for some improvements on streets here in town? And those are the only two.
Great. Councilman Guarino.
No, I'm not pulling. Thank you, Council
Great.
President.
Madam Clerk.
Oh, okay. With the exception of resolutions A and B, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The
No.
consent agenda is implemented. Thank you. Resolution 193-14 was pulled by Councilman Kukoviac.
So we want to go with the ordinances as opposed to the...
Go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I really have nothing more. We discussed this in the response to the public comment, but I don't feel comfortable not knowing for certain what the cost is and not knowing for certain what the coverage is and what our potential liability would be. So I just wanted to pull it just so we could have a vote.
I'm just going to make a motion. I wanted to make another comment that we have had this insurance coverage now for so many years. I don't see that there's any reason to change it. Voice vote, Madam Clerk.
Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 193-14?
Motion moved.
Second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Guarino?
Yes.
Councilman Kukoviac?
No.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes.
Resolution 194-14 was pulled by Councilman Kukoviac.
Yes, thank you. I had just asked Mr. Lepore just to be ready to answer a couple of quick questions. I just noted in the information that you provided before the meeting in answer to my questions, thank you very much, that we're talking about replacing the sidewalks on these two streets on, I believe it's Cherry and, is it Belgrade Terrace?
That's correct.
Okay. As you know, I brought this up before because it seems to me that if our ordinance says that property owners should be responsible for the sidewalks, I feel as if we shouldn't be providing this wholesale to people. You've already had somebody come to the council meeting a few meetings ago and demand that they get repaid for their sidewalks even though they weren't on the streets. And I'm also concerned that the money that is spent on the sidewalks cannot be put towards repaving other people's streets and providing the curbs because it's spent on the sidewalks. Can you just tell me roughly, I know Belgrade Terrace is a very long street and I'm not clear on which portion of Cherry, whether it's the entire street or not, but do you have some sort of estimate as to what the cost is going to be? I know you've put a total number in the resolution.
Yeah, actually, I don't have the resolution in front of me because it was prepared by our grant writer. Just so you know, on Belgrade Terrace, it's almost the entire length of Belgrade, but it starts at Club Boulevard and then goes north to Bradford Avenue, and it's almost all of Cherry Street with the exception of the block between Franklin Avenue and Whittlesey Avenue. I think the costs, given the lengths, were fairly evenly divided between the two streets, since they're about the same length.
If I recall correctly, Yale and Harvard, you estimated about $100,000 was spent just on the sidewalks to replace all of those sidewalks on those two streets. I think these are actually longer, so I'm just trying to get an idea of what sort of money we're talking about.
Yeah, Yale and Harvard were each approximately 900 feet long, so I think this is probably a little bit longer. Again, I'm sorry, I just didn't have the estimate in front of me tonight. It wasn't intentional, I just didn't bring the whole application. It was filed online, so I don't necessarily have the paper in front of me.
So roughly 150,000, 200,000 for the sidewalks on these two streets?
I'm going to say approximately 150, 175,000.
Thank you. That's really all the questions I have.
Is there any more questions?
No.
None from me.
Okay.
Motion.
Yeah, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 194-14?
So moved. Second.
When I get to it. And then you just get rid of it. Correct. Oh, you're going to read it. Okay. Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Guarino?
Town Clerk, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote.
Okay. Councilman Krokoviac?
No.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
If I could-
Moving on to ordinances.
If I could, we didn't actually ask questions about the resolutions. Mr. Lepore is here. I just asked him to try to clarify my confusion on the snow plowing, the snow pulling contract here. I know we've already approved it. We weren't asking questions about it beforehand. As long as you're here, could you just explain what happened from the last time you brought the bids where we refused all of them, and then we came back and now we've got some potential.
Yeah, there was no change in the bid documents other than the bid receipt date. I asked you to reject them. So did Ann DeSantis. Just didn't think there was enough competition. Thought the prices were a bit too high. It was important that we had more competition, in my opinion, for some of our specific plow routes. And we rebid it, and we did get more competition, and prices dropped anywhere from $100 an hour to $25 to $100 an hour over a previous bid.
So this is my confusion. If the specs didn't change, how were we able to get a great deal more competition?
I think just making sure people were aware of what we wanted to do. And if some people were scared a little bit by the language or the wording in the original spec, made sure it was clarified to them. So it was an effort on the purchasing agent and some members of my department to make sure more people were aware
of what we intended to do with this bid, and made sure that they were aware that we were going to offer specific routes that they could count on being called on, not when we got 2 feet of snow and we're, past our eyeballs and trying to plow snow.
So would it be fair to say that what actually happened was that we explained the bid specs to them a little bit more clearly so that they...
It didn't change, the wording didn't change, but made sure people were aware of what we wanted to do in this bid document. And
Right.
consequently, we had more bidders.
Okay, and it lowered the cost?
Yes.
Okay, good work, thank you.
Then you might as well stay there because we don't have any ordinances on second reading, but the ordinances on first reading, we have ordinance 2429-14, which is this ordinance on Cary Street. So Cary Street is back. I think from the conversation we had, this is just that it had not been posted. We did already vote on this, so there still are no changes to this alternate side parking. Is that the case?
Yes, correct.
So just, it was not posted, I guess, in
It was not advertised.
It was not advertised.
Right.
And so are we voting on this again? Do we need to vote on this again, or this is just to?
Well, yes, because, right, Ken? Because it was advertised. This time it was advertised for
Which ordinance you talking about?
2429-14 on Cary Street?
Yeah.
This had already been approved, but it was not posted, and now it has been
It was
posted.
not advertised.
Not advertised.
Right.
I think,
But it had to be reintroduced.
Right.
Because
Okay.
of
We
that.
talked about that when it was on the first time.
Okay,
Right.
so reintroduced.
Right.
So I make a motion to introduce ordinance 2429-14 on first reading, alternate side parking on Cary Street.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Guarino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes. Ordinance 2430-14 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7 on traffic. This is for through streets on Lincoln Avenue. Make a motion to introduce on first reading.
So moved.
Councilman Cirillo? Councilman Guarino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes. Len, can you explain what that means, a through street on Lincoln Avenue? What happens at the
By
Lincoln Avenue?
designating Lincoln Avenue a through street, all the streets that intersect with it, within the limits that are in the ordinance, specifically Roosevelt Avenue and Garfield Avenue, there'll be stop signs posted at those locations.
Okay. Thank you. Ordinance 2431-14 is another traffic ordinance. This is for stop intersections, James Court and Allen Street, Mountain Drive, and Highwood Road. Make a motion to introduce on first reading.
So moved.
Councilman Cirillo?
Yes.
Councilman Guarino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Spango?
Yes.
Council President McCartney?
Yes. Any comments?
There is no ABC hearing.
Excellent.
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
And when is our next meeting?
The next meeting is November 25th.
Our next
Tuesday
meeting,
evening.
Tuesday, back to Tuesdays, November 25th. Thank you. Good night.